Hello again everybody, Sebastian Keynes here with another Watch Your Realms video. In this one, I'm going to be focusing on the new Northern Mage, Glacius, which is joining us now in the game. And we welcome a mage for the Northern faction, given that we need 3 to complete that specific faction trials and get all the stars needed so we can get a free legendary out of it. But for this content here, I'm going to focus a little bit more on the guild boss, and I'm going to tell you why. So in his talent, it's saying that he inflicts a slow with his basic attack, and then has a 20% chance to inflict the freeze, and then he deals increased damage on targets that have the slow, and additionally on those that have the freeze. Before we go over his skills, we have to get the passives out of the way, because the passive essentially set up his ultimate. Now, here with the Frozen Shield, he actually applies a self-shield, which is 30% of the max HP every 26 seconds, and it lasts for 10 seconds. And then each time that he takes damage, it then reduces the cooldown for the next shield to pop up. So then when the ultimate is activated, this effect is then triggered automatically, and the shield strength gain is 60% when you fully skill. Also, the hero, he cannot get frozen, and he deals extra damage to those targets with freeze. And if the target cannot be frozen, then he can apply the idle winter on them, and then they gain extra damage when he applies this Eye of Winter. This is why I was thinking that this hero, being a single target mage, would be more applicable to be used in guild boss battles. His basic attack is just straight dealing damage to one enemy, magic damage, and now his ultimate is all set up based on his passive. So when we activate the ultimate, his range increases slightly. He gains a couple of extra tiles. Now he starts doing a little bit more damage, and those basic attacks now can do 3 consecutive attacks, and you see that in the animation. Now, if there are multiple targets in range, they can go random. But if it's just a single target, all 3 of them will be launched to that target. Now, each one of those hits is 110% damage. And in addition to that, if you have a shield on, and depending on the strength of the shield, it not only increases the shield, but then now you're doing damage based on that shield. And I'm going to show you that how integral it is for you to take into account to make sure that when his ultimate is activated, that you can sustain that shield as long as possible. With his awakenings, I think the first one is just a damage increase, especially when you are dealing with the single target. So if you can get him to a 1, he should pop up a little bit more in the boss battle. So he gains 15% damage, and then an extra 50% damage to targets that are inflicted with freeze. He's A2, you just gain base attack. He's A3, increases the shield strength, gained by 20%. And when he's shielded, he increases damage dealt by 15%. His crit rate increases by 8% with A4. And in the A5 is a little bit of text here, but he says when he receives fatal damage for the first time, he triggers the ice barrier for 10 seconds, and during which the hero cannot act or take damage. So it's kind of like he gains an extra life. So if he gets the fatal damage, now he has a chance for somebody to then heal them up a little. When it expires, the hero restores 30% of HP and 100% rage. 100% rage, especially if he's just sitting by himself and he doesn't have a healer next to him. At least he gains some HP back, and then gains a shield equal to 50% of the max HP for 10 seconds. So think about this. If you are in a boss battle and you are going, let's say, for example, against Samra, and for some reason you get slammed and he dies. Well, if you have him fully awakened to A5, he at least gets 1 more shot at taking on the boss. And if it's a healer somewhere around him, then he can get that extra healing and you can bring him up. Now, for the demonstration on this video, I'm just going to focus on A0, and then I'm also going to then show you A1, just to see how much more muster you can get out of him if you did manage to get at least 2 copies of him during his 15x banner. Okay, so the first thing that I want to show you all is how integral it is for you to have this shield up time as much as you can during the battle, because the shield does give him the ability to do the damage that you're going to need. So in a vacuum, if you put him on himself and that shield is sustained, and then you bring other heroes to even power up that shield even more, he will hit very, very hard. But that's in a vacuum, all right? Now think of the general situation of gameplay. Your job is going to be to try to make sure that he can keep up the shield as much as he can. So here, as you see, he was hitting for 124. And now that the shield is gone, now you're still seeing the numbers decrease here. And it starts going down into the 80s and the 60s. And that is because he no longer has that shield. He no longer has that power up that gives him the damage burst that he can do when his ultimate is activated and he has those 3 hits going. So because I was running so many Drake Chasm runs, and I was seeing so much variability with the amount of damage that he was doing, so I really wanted to make sure that I understood his kick correctly. So here is this first run here that I'm doing with the A01, and this is representative of, I don't know how many runs I've did, because one of the things that I wanted to make sure of is that when I activated his ultimate, that there was no chance that we were going to get that Infernal Roar right on top of us, okay? Because the Infernal Roar here in Nightmare 4, at least how I have him built in this example, it got completely squashed, right? The shield just got obliterated. So when the shield was gone, I started noticing his damage was not as robust as it was when I was trying to keep up the shield. So here we are here in this example here, and I'm just showing this run that I did. So you're gonna, if you look carefully, notice that I'm trying to activate the ultimate. Not well, then of course I have Dolores's boost, and hopefully I have Valka being able to apply her vulnerabilities. But activating that ultimate when I think that there's a less chance of taking damage later on, and that shield can sustain a little bit. So in the runs, as I was going through them, if I activated the ultimate too soon and there was no shield, then I saw the numbers really dip down below. Now I'm gonna let this run, and we'll look at the damage card at the end. But I can kind of tell you that if you are not careful and you don't pay close attention to how often you have the shield up, you are not going to see the damage that probably myself are showing here, or that other content creators have been showing in their videos, if you are following guides on this. So again, you can kind of see there, I activated the ultimate when when I had the best possible situation, which was after the Infernal Roar. The meteor impact kind of took it down a little bit, but there was still a shield there to do damage with. So I'm gonna let him keep going here, and I was trying to be as consistent as possible just to make sure that I was getting the similar amount of damage as I started then kind of getting adjusted to all the timings with this particular set of heroes. Now, I'm not going for world records here. I am going for my study of the hero and to try to showcase him to you, and try to also inform you at the fact of how he is working and how the variability could be in your runs if you're not paying close attention to the one thing that defines his kit, and it is that shield right there. Now, and also in this run, I'm bringing in Elder as the Lord so we can get a little bit more shield. We can get a little bit more uptime, more damage. So you can see here in this example, 87,000 with this setup comparing to Lust and Arrogance is not bad. This guy can hit. I mean, this guy just added firepower to the Northern faction, something that it was near it. So over the last months, they've added Jira, they've added Glacius, and we had Falcia on the bench. Not only that, Elder, if you build him well enough and you do awaken him, he can also hit. So this faction just got a major boost for battles against bosses. All right, so there's kind of the general idea of what that entails. Now here, I'm bringing in that A1 Glacius that I have here, and I tried to kind of copy the same runs, and I tried to do the same thing to try to optimize the damage based on the shields. And I just wanted to see how much more damage are we actually getting from that awakening. Now, in this run here, which I'm gonna try to probably speed up a little bit, but I'm just gonna let it run for a little bit so you can kind of see when I activated the ultimates, which was trying to make sure that it was after the Infernal Roar so we can get a little bit more uptime with the shield. Now, here in this example here is going to be the amount of blood. It wasn't really significantly increased, but his damage, we got a little bit of a boost on it. So if you even want to build him, not only make sure you get damage stats on him, but you try to pump up his HP as much as possible, like Jira, I think he can really out damage some of the heroes that we have in the game, as long as you can keep that shield up. All right, so that's kind of the brief example here. And now let's go a little bit further. I know some of you like to watch the runs, so I'm just trying to fast forward a little bit here in this clip to try to just give you a general idea of how much damage was done here at the end with an A1 Glacius and what kind of the variability that you can expect between the two. So here was this run. It's kind of representative from the other ones. We gained a little bit more, so 89,000. That's not bad. In comparison to the other runs that I was doing, you know, sometimes I would pop up into the 90s. Sometimes it would go down to 86. Same thing with the A0 one. There was a large variability. I know for my first couple of runs with the A0, I was just like popping the ultimate whenever I could, right? Because we were doing the rage regeneration with Laurel and Laya and Hollow. But one of the things that I was seeing is sometimes I would get 70,000 and then sometimes I would get 83, 84. And I was wondering, okay, what is really at play here? So that's what I was showing you here in the first part of this clip here, how integral is going to be for you to make sure to keep an eye on things and to make sure that the shield is up when his ultimate is activated, so you don't lose that the amount of damage that you're going to leave at the table because you're not taking into account his kit, which is his shield. Okay, so let me go over the build that was specifically for this content here. I used this to try to get him to 17,000 attack, 411 speed, 346.5 critical damage, and I was able to at least boost his rage regen a little bit to 49%. And I decided to use the Solvan Arcana set. Is the one that really worked well for him, especially being a mage. I think that this is what really works well on them, and his ultimate comes back a little bit quicker, so you can take advantage of that. In terms of the artifact, Tear of Twilight, 25 out of 25. That's the one that we decided to use. Is the best one for the mages at the moment in the game. So there you have it. That's my thoughts on Glacius. The Northerners got a boost in power. He's a very good damage dealer. You will be able to use him in various facets of the game. And as a bonus, look at the outro. I'm going to just leave you the clip there of him, how he worked in faction trials. Fortunately, I was able to get a recording when that particular stage was open in faction trials, so I decided to use him and just kind of show you what he can do in PvP if you did decide to utilize him in that manner, and you can get an idea of what he can do in that type of content. I would like to thank you all very much for tuning in and watching. If you found this guide helpful, please do hit like and subscribe. It does help the channel. And I will see you all in the next time in the next Watcher of Realms video.